Welcome to The Explainer. Today, let's put on our director's hat and deconstruct the 2013 film Horror Story. We're going to break it down not just as a movie, but as a really deliberate and focused experiment in creating pure, absolute terror. You know, this film really gets at a core question for any horror director, right? How do you strip away all the extra stuff and just make something that is terrifying at its very core? We're going to explore the very specific choices the filmmakers made to try and answer that, where the number one goal was engineering scares, period. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with their hardcore blueprint and this really interesting no stars, no songs rule. Then we'll see how they turned a location into the main character, how this film broke away from the formula, and finally, we'll ask the big question: did the gamble pay off?
All right, let's jump right in. First things first, you have to understand that this movie's mission was completely different. They weren't trying to make your typical Bollywood horror flick. The goal was to engineer a hardcore horror experience, what the creator even called a Hollywood kind of drama, something much more focused, kind of like a Western thriller.
So what does that even mean, hardcore horror? Well, in this case, it's a director's approach that is just ruthless about prioritizing story and atmosphere above all else. For the writer-producer Vikram Bhatt, this meant getting rid of all the extra stuff you might see in his other hit movies, all to make sure that the fear itself was the one and only star of the show.
Now this is where things get really interesting from a filmmaking perspective. They had this rule, no stars, no songs. Now, for a producer, that's a huge risk. Commercially, it sounds crazy. But for a horror director, man, that's a killer move to really maximize the fear.
Okay, first up, no big stars. And Bhatt's logic here is just rock solid. Think about it. When you see a huge movie star on screen, part of you knows they're probably going to make it to the end, right? It creates this kind of safety net for the audience. By casting actors you don't recognize, the director yanks that safety net away. Suddenly, the danger feels way more real. Anything could happen.
And the second part of that rule, no songs. You know, in horror, a song can be a moment to breathe, a release valve that lets the tension drop for a minute. By taking those out completely, the filmmakers they never let you off the hook. The atmosphere stays heavy and relentless. There's literally no escape, keeping you locked in that state of dread. So all of these choices, no stars, no songs, they all funnel into the movie's biggest weapon, the setting. In Horror Story, the grandiose hotel isn't just a backdrop where things happen. It's engineered to be the main antagonist. It is the monster.
I mean, seriously? From a director's point of view, you could not write a better backstory. Just look at the layers here. It starts as an asylum for the criminally insane, a place literally built on madness. Then it burns down in some mysterious fire. That's tragedy right there. It gets a shiny new coat of paint as a luxury hotel, hiding all that darkness. And then boom, it's abandoned after a suicide, just cementing this legacy of absolute despair.
And from a purely technical filmmaking standpoint, a setting like this is a goldmine. You get automatic claustrophobia, you get total isolation for your characters, cutting them off from any help. But most importantly, all that history we just talked about, it gives you a believable reason for really powerful haunting. The horror feels earned because it grew right out of the building's foundations.
And this is the genius part. This is where the place and the threat become one and the same. The ghost, Maya, isn't just some random, angry spirit. Her violent rage is a direct product of the location's history as an asylum. Her motives are tied to the very walls around them, which makes the threat feel so much more specific, personal, and utterly inescapable.
So what's really crucial to understand here is that Horror Story was a massive departure from a formula that was already working. I mean, Vikram Bhatt had already cracked the code for commercial horror hits, so doing this was a conscious and honestly a pretty gutsy decision to try something completely new.
And the contrast is just stark. His other big hits like Raz 3 and 1920 were what he himself called romantic sagas. They blended horror with popular songs and big drama. But Horror Story? Nope. This was designed to be that Hollywood kind of drama, a lean, mean, story-driven fear machine. It was an intentional pivot away from what he knew was a success.
So here's the million-dollar question. Did it work? When you strip a film down to pure horror and you break away from a winning formula, what actually happens when it hits theaters?
Well, first, let's talk money. The film was made on a pretty tight budget, just 6 crore rupees. And that's a really smart play when you're doing something experimental. You're minimizing your financial risk right from the get-go.
And its return at the box office was, well, modest. It brought in an estimated 7 crore,
So yeah, it technically made a profit, but it was nowhere near the kind of commercial blockbuster its predecessors were.
And this brings us to this fascinating outcome. Creatively, you could say the experiment was a home run. Critics got it, they appreciated the focused, pure horror approach. Commercially, though, it just didn't connect with a mass audience in the same way. So they absolutely nailed the art of the scare, but the business of the box office told a very different story.
And this leaves us with this fundamental question about the genre itself, doesn't it? What is the true measure of success for a horror film? Is it the critical acclaim for its craftsmanship and its ability to genuinely scare you? Or is it the number of tickets sold at the end of the day? Horror Story is just a perfect case study in that ongoing debate between art and commerce.